The wind howled like a wounded beast across the frozen plains. Snow slammed sideways, turning the world into a white blur. And in the middle of that storm stumbled a man, bleeding, half frozen, clutching his rifle as a ring of low-growling shadows circled him. Colt McCrae had faced death before, but never like this. His vision blurred. His horse had fallen miles back. His leg throbbed where the wolf's teeth had torn through flesh. And behind him, the gang he'd been tracking. 3 of them. Desperate men with nothing to lose, that he had escaped them. But the wilderness wasn't letting him go so easily that a wolf lunged. Colt fired. The flash lit the snow like lightning. The wolf dropped. The others retreated for a heartbeat. Only a heartbeat that he staggered backward, feet sinking into the drifts. He could barely feel his fingers. His breaths came in sharp gasps. Then, far in the distance, another faint sound cut through the wind. A cabin door creaking open. Lila Rowan heard the gunshot first. The young woman sat alone by her fire, braiding the same strand of hair she always braided when she grew nervous. Her cabin sat at the edge of the pine forest, miles from the nearest town, miles from anyone who remembered she existed. She listened again. Gunshot. Then wolves. Then silence. Her heart tightened. She had learned to ignore most noises out here. But some noises, gunshots, wolves, screams, those never faded. They dragged memories back to life. Memories she tried to bury beneath work and silence. Memories of her father's ranch burned to the ground. Of her mother's final cry. Of bandits disappearing into the night while she hid beneath the floorboards, shaking. She lived alone now because it felt safer than facing people who might bring danger to her door again. But tonight, something wouldn't let her stay inside. She stood, wrapped her worn coat around her shoulders, and took her lantern. Her hands trembled, not from cold, but from the old fear that never fully went away. The storm swallowed her instantly. Snow stung her face, but she pressed forward, following the echoes of danger. When she reached the clearing, her breath caught. There, surrounded by wolves, was a man barely standing. Tall, broad-shouldered, coat torn and stained with blood. His rifle shook in his hand. Another wolf lunged. Lila didn't think. She acted. She raised her father's old shotgun and fired. The blast thundered across the clearing. 3 wolves scattered. 1 limped into the woods. The man collapsed into the snow. "Sir?" Hey, stay awake," she shouted over the wind, dropping to her knees. His eyes fluttered open, pain clouding them. "Angel or ghost?" he muttered. "Neither," she said, placing her lantern beside him. "I'm someone who can't carry you far if you die on me, so stay awake." He managed a faint smirk, then passed out. The storm thickened, but Lila refused to leave him. She hooked her arms underneath his and dragged him inch by inch toward her cabin. The wolves followed at a distance, eyes glowing in the dark. "Not tonight," she whispered. "Not him." By the time she hauled him through her cabin door, her arms shook with exhaustion. She bolted the door, shoved a chair under the handle, then knelt beside him. His pulse was faint but steady. She stoked the fire. She cleaned the wound on his leg, wincing as he groaned in unconscious pain. She wrapped him in blankets. She poured warm water past his lips. Hours passed. Wolves paced outside. The storm raged on. Lila stayed awake the whole time, watching over a stranger the wilderness wanted dead. Just before dawn, he whispered a name in his sleep. Colt. Colt McCrae. And Lila Rowan realized she had just rescued a man who carried more burdens than visible wounds. Outside, wolves howled again. Closer this time. The storm was not done, and neither was fate. Colt awoke to the crackling of firewood and the smell of pine smoke. His body ached as though he'd been trampled by a runaway stagecoach. When he tried to sit up, pain shot through his leg that a soft voice stopped him. "Don't move. You'll tear the stitches." He looked toward the corner of the cabin that a young woman, slender, pale from isolation but sharp-eyed, watched him with a mixture of caution and concern. "You stitched me." "I did." "You dragged me through a blizzard." "I did that too." He exhaled slowly. "Well, thank you, ma'am." Her gaze flinched at the word ma'am, as if it belonged to a past she didn't want to revisit. "My name is Lila," she said. "Colt McCrae." He offered his hand. She hesitated before taking it. Her grip was gentle but firm. Colt scanned the small cabin. Sparse. Clean. Too clean, like someone trying to stay busy to outrun memories. A single rocking chair. A rifle mounted above the door. Dried herbs hanging by the window. Storm stopped. Colt asked, mostly, but the wolves haven't left. He nodded. They're hungry this time of year. Silence settled between them. Not awkward, just heavy. Lila moved to stir a pot over the fire. You're lucky I heard the gunshot, she said quietly. You were brave to come out alone. Her shoulders tightened. Bravery had nothing to do with it. Colt studied her. The cautious distance in her eyes. The way her voice cracked on certain words. The faint shadows of old grief. You live here alone? Yes. That's dangerous. It was more dangerous living with people. He didn't push further if he knew the look of someone carrying scars beneath their skin. Hours passed. Lila brought him water and soup. Colt spoke little, too tired, too wary. He'd been betrayed by men he trusted, hunted by the gang he once helped chase. The wilderness had nearly finished what the bandits started. Lila, on the other hand, barely spoke at all, but she watched everything. Every sound outside, every twitch of Colt's expression, every flicker of the lantern like a tea sunset. A soft tap hit the cabin door. Lila froze that Colt's hand moved toward his rifle, only to realize it wasn't beside him. It sat near Lila's chair, unloaded. Don't shoot, she whispered. It's him. Him who? She didn't answer. Instead, she cracked the door open. A tall figure wrapped in a fur cloak stepped inside, snow falling from his shoulders that a Lakota warrior. Silent. Expression unreadable. Colt tensed. Lila touched the warrior's arm gently. Lakota, he's hurt. I need your help. Lakota knelt beside Colt without a word. He examined the wound, nodded once, then handed Lila a small pouch of crushed leaves. She brewed them into a bitter paste and applied it to Colt's leg. The burn was immediate. Colt clenched his teeth that Lakota's dark eyes met his. You live, he said simply. Colt frowned. You speak English. Enough. Lila stepped between them slightly, as if protecting both of them from misunderstanding. Lakota lives in the woods nearby. He looks out for me. Lakota gave no expression. Colt read something in his posture. Respect, grief, and something deeper. You two family? Colt asked. Lila shook her head. Lakota said, family by promise. The phrase meant more than it explained. Before Colt could ask anything else, Lakota suddenly stiffened. He moved to the window, peering out. Wolves? Lila whispered. Lakota shook his head. Men. Colt's instincts surged. Describe them. Lakota's voice was calm. 3 men. 2 horses. Guns. Colt's blood turned to ice. That's them. Lila stepped back. Who? The bandits who shot me. They want to finish the job. Outside, footsteps crunched in the snow. The danger that had taken everything from Lila was returning. The knock on the door wasn't loud. It was slow, deliberate. Mocking Colt's hand hovered near the rifle Lila refused to give him. He's not strong enough, she whispered to Colt's jaw clenched. I don't need to be strong to shoot straight. Lakota moved to the shadows behind the door, silent as a ghost. Lila stood frozen, pulse racing. Another knock, then a familiar voice, one that lived inside Lila's nightmares. Well now, isn't this a cozy little place? Her breath hitched. Colt heard it that he understood instantly. These the men who hurt you? She nodded shakily. Colt whispered, you should have told me. I tried to forget. You can't forget men like them. Outside, the bandits murmured among themselves. We know the Cowboy's in there. Step aside, girl, and we'll just take him. Lila's fear hardened into something colder. No, Colt glanced up at her. Her voice was no longer timid. It was steel. The door splintered as a boot slammed against it. Lakota struck first. The moment the door cracked open, he grabbed the attacker's wrist, twisted, and dragged him outside. A gunshot tore through the night. Colt pushed himself upright, pain ripping through his leg. Lila, my rifle. She tossed it to him. He cocked it in one motion. That crash. Another bandit burst through the window. Colt fired. The man fell back into the snow. Point 1 left. The leader. the man with the scar across his cheek. The one who burned Lila's home, who laughed as she screamed. He shoved open the half-broken door, pointing his revolver straight at her. "Well, look at you, little girl. Grown teeth now." Colt tried to aim, but the leader kept Lila between them. Colt froze. One wrong shot would hit her. Lakota appeared behind the man, silent as falling snow. The bandit sensed him too late. Lakota's knife flashed. The leader stumbled forward, bleeding. Still, he managed to fire. Bang! Lakota staggered back. Lila screamed. Colt fired instantly, one bullet to the bandit's chest. The man fell face first into the snow, blood darkening the white ground. The fight was over, but the cost lay bare. Lila dropped to her knees beside Lakota. His breaths were shallowed. He pressed her hand weakly. "Your father saved me once," he whispered. "I promised I would watch over his daughter." Lila shook her head violently. "You're not dying? You can't leave me too." Lakota smiled faintly. "You are not alone anymore." His hand went still. Lila's sobs echoed through the forest. Colt leaned heavily against the wall, heart breaking as he watched her cradle the only protector she ever had. But danger had not passed completely. Storm clouds rolled in. Wolves howled again, drawn by the scent of blood, and Lila's strength would be tested once more. Snow whipped across the clearing again as night fell. The storm returned with a vengeance, swallowing Lakota's body in drifting white. Colt forced himself to stand, gripping the rifle. "We can't stay here." Lila wiped her eyes. "Lakota deserve a burial. You'll get one after we survive the night." The wolves crept closer. 6, maybe 7, their eyes glowed in the dark. Colt loaded his rifle, wincing as pain surged up his leg. Inside the cabin, the lantern flickered. Shadows twisted across the walls like ghosts. Lila moved beside him, loading shells into her shotgun. "You ever fought wolves before?" Colt asked. "No," she whispered. "But I'm tired of running." He looked at her. Really looked. This wasn't the quiet, frightened girl he met. This was a woman forged from grief into iron. The wolves lunged. Colt fired first. One wolf tumbled. Another leapt through the broken window, its jaws aimed for Lila. She swung the shotgun like a club. Crack! Wood splintered. The wolf reeled, and she fired point blank. Colt grinned through the pain. "You sure you never fought before?" Didn't have a choice. They fought side by side, step by step. Wolves hammered the door. Claws scraped the walls. Wind howled like an army of spirits. One wolf managed to drag Colt down. Teeth sank in his arm. He screamed. Lila fired, saving him. But the wolves regrouped, and the storm worsened. "We can't hold them," Colt gasped. Lila's jaw set. "Yes, we can." She lit a torch, kicked the door open, and charged into the storm, screaming like a woman finally done being prey. Fire hissed against snow. Wolves backed away. Some fled. Some circled. Colt limped out beside her, firing into the dark. At last, the wolves retreated into the trees. The storm eased. Silence returned. They stood among bodies, wolves, bandits, memories, the world around them quiet and cold. Lila knelt beside Lakota one final time. "We'll bury him in the morning," Colt said softly. She nodded, tears streaking her face. "He was the last person who cared if I lived." Colt gently turned her toward him. "That's not true." She blinked up at him as snowflakes drifted between them. "What do you mean?" He took her hand, rough and cold, and placed it against his chest. "You saved my life. Twice. I owe you more than thanks." "I don't want repayment," she whispered. I just don't want to be alone anymore." Colt swallowed. "I was a dead man before you found me. Wolves, bandits, my past. I was running from all of it. But you gave me something I haven't felt in years." "What?" "Hope." The wind stilled. The world seemed to listen. "I don't have much," Colt said. "But what I've got, I want to share with you. If you'll have me." Her breath caught. "You're asking me to travel with you?" He shook his head. "No, Lila. I'm asking you to marry me." Her legs nearly gave out. "You don't know me. I know enough. You're brave. You're kind. You're stronger than you believe." He squeezed her hands. "And I know I don't want to walk away from you." Tears filled her eyes. Not of grief, but release. For the first time in years, she felt warmth inside her chest. "Yes," she whispered. "I'll marry you." Colt exhaled a soft, trembling laugh. They stood together in the snow, two broken souls finding each other not through fate, but through survival, courage, and choice.